Hey guys, how's it going? We're on my Enhancement Shaman, starting the video with the voice crack because that's how I usually do it. And I'm going to be making a Enhancement Shaman guide slash crash course for anyone who really wants to play Enhancement Shaman in PvP. It's one of the better melee classes. It does a lot of single target damage. Its burst potential is pretty crazy if you have the right talents. And I feel like it's one of the better classes to play if you just want to kind of play brain dead and have fun. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Anyway, let me go on the artifact weapon. Artifact weapon is Doom Hammer, obviously. The main artifact weapon ability is increase the inner power of Doom Hammer, causing all auto attacks to trigger Wind Fury and increasing damage dealt by Wind Fury by 200% for 6 seconds. You're going to want to use this with Stormbringer procs, which I'll talk about later, and Ghost Wolves and Bloodlust and all that stuff, which I will talk about. A burst macro that I do use for this specifically. We'll go on to the kind of major artifact traits. Doom Wolves, I think, is one of the... I think it's the first one you go into. Doesn't really matter since artifact knowledge is so high. Basically makes your Ghost Wolves fire, frost, or wind, and makes it so they do more damage. Then there's this one. Storm Strike has a chance to unleash the power of Doom Hammer, causing her special attacks to have Molten Lava or Lightning Spikes. Deals extra damage, basically. And then this one, Lava Lash and Lightning Bolt, have a chance to cause Doom Hammer to release a fiery tornado at your target's location, dealing 114,000 fire damage over 3 seconds to enemies within 3 yards. Those are your major artifact traits. There's also this one, which I've been using more, and basically, whenever you hit someone with Crash Lightning for each target it hits, increases the damage of your next Storm Strength by 10%. So, if you have an army of dead on you, a lot of pets on you, just use this. You'll hit maybe up to 70% increased damage on your next Storm Strike, which is pretty nice. And, yeah, it's like the only noticeable kind of artifact talents, really. And we'll move on to, oh yeah, this one too. Basically make it so your Astral Shift heals you for 40% of your max health. It's basically just your self-heal. It's no global cooldown. You press it, you get heals, you get reduced damage. It's pretty nice. So, moving on to the talents, or not talents, our spellbook. Astral Shift, shift partially into elemental planes, taking 40% less damage for 8 seconds. You're going to want to use this when someone tries to burst you, when a mage tries to glacial spike you, when Unholy Death Knight pops cooldowns. Whenever anyone pops cooldowns on you, battle cry, anything like that, you're going to want to use this. You're going to take reduced damage, and then also your artifact ability will heal you for the reduced damage that you do actually take. So, if anything, your health bar just kind of stays in the same place when someone pops cooldowns and you use this. Bloodlust. Everyone knows what this is. If you don't know what it is, I don't know what to tell you. Crash Lightning electrocutes all enemies in front of you, dealing 113,000 nature damage. Hitting 2 or more targets enhances your weapons, causing Storm Strike and Lava Lash to also deal the same amount of damage to people in front of you. And it's basically just, if you use this while there is 2 people in front of you, you get a buff that makes it so whenever you Lava Lash or Storm Strike, you do extra nature damage. So that's why I've been using this more. You probably want to get in the habit of doing that whenever you see 2 people on you. It's a good idea. Doom Winds, already talked about this. Your artifact ability increases the damage of your Wind Fury. Earthbind Totem is our ranged slow, I'd say. 30-second cooldown. Basically just slows people. It's pretty self-explanatory. Feral Lunge. You turn into a ghost. Ghost the wolf and you lunge at someone and you deal very minuscule damage. It's basically just a gap closer, so I wouldn't rely on it for damage at all. Feral Spirit is your Ghost Wolves. Summon 2 Spirit Wolves that aid you in battle for 15 seconds. They are immune to movement impairing effects and grant you 5 Maelstrom each time they attack. Again, burst. I have a burst macro that has this macroed into it. Flame Tongue scorches your target, dealing 110 fire damage. Enhances your weapons with fire for 16 seconds, causing each weapon attack to deal up to 6,000 fire damage based on weapon speed. Again, this builds into our talents, and I'm going to explain this more later. Frostbrand, I don't really use this. You can use it if you take a certain talent, which is the Hailstorm talent. Otherwise, you can use it just for the slow if you find you're not using Fury of Air, which is I'd never spec out of Fury Air. But yeah, if you want to slow, feel free to use that. It basically works like Flame Tongue, except it just slows people. Fury of Air is my talent that I go to. I think it's like the level 60 talent. It's basically a channeled Maelstrom damage spender. No, I don't even know. It costs Maelstrom, does nature damage every 1 second, and slows people by 30% to anyone around you. It's my go-to. Does AoE damage. Only costs 3 Maelstrom. With the build I run, I like to run a Maelstrom generating build. feel like it's not a problem using this. Sometimes if you don't use the Maelstrom generating build, I will sometimes go out of my resource. So I'll explain everything once we get to the talents, because the talents is really what make Enhancement Shaman, or it decides how you play, really. Ghost Wolf, everyone should know this. Basically turns you into this guy, increase your movement speed by 30%, and then makes it so you are less vulnerable to movement impairing effects. Healing Surge is our one heal. It's instant if you have 20 Maelstrom. If you don't have 20 Maelstrom, it's 1.64 second to cast, still heals you. Hex is our 1 CC outside of our Lightning Surge totem. Put someone into Frog, 30-second cooldown. It's like sheep for shamans, really. Lava Lash is one of our main Maelstrom spenders. One of our main damaging abilities. Charges your offhand weapon with lava and burns your target, dealing 277,000 fire damage. Again, Maelstrom dump does damage. It's one of our main abilities. Lightning Bolt. If you're taking a certain talent, this is one of your main abilities also, which is the talent I take. Fires a lightning bolt at the target, dealing blank nature damage. Mine does a ton of nature damage because I'm spec'd into a talent. If you're not spec'd into it, it'll do very minuscule damage, so I wouldn't suggest using it unless you take a certain talent, which I'll explain later. Lightning Surge Totem. Summons a totem at the target location that gathers electrical energy, then its surrounding area, and then explodes after 2 seconds to stun all enemies within 8 yards for 5 seconds. This is our other CC, which is kind of hard to land, kind of not. Matters if the person's stupid enough to stay in it, but if they do, it's just like a 5-second stun. Purge is... Purge removes the beneficial magic effects. You can't use this on Bop, Ice Barrier, Prismatic Barrier, Fire Barrier, Freedom, any kind of buff, Rejuvenation, Wild Growth, anything where it's just a magic buff, you can dispel it. Rock Biter. Assault your target with Earth and Power, dealing 304,000 nature damage, and generates 28 Maelstrom, and has max 2 charges, and 4.4 second cooldown. Again, this is changed if you take certain talents. Spirit Walk is our movement increase, removes all movement impairing effects, increase your movement speed by 8 seconds. So if you use this and Spirit Wolf, I'm not sure if it stacks really, but I think it does. Anyway, Storm Strike energizes both your weapons with lightning and delivers a massive blow to your target, dealing a total of 564,000 physical damage. This is our main ability. It's been a staple since vanilla. I know, ever since vanilla I've loved this ability, so I think it's a generally fun ability. I think you can use it with two-handers, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Water Walking allows the friendly target to walk on water. It's Frost, Path of Frost for shamans, except you have to cast it on every target, which is a little lame. Wish it was just an aura, but you do you, Blizzard. Wind Shear, it's our one interrupt, has a 30-yard range, prevents casting from a certain school for 3 seconds. Again, it's our one interrupt. It's like a kick, rebuke, whatever you want to call it. Hello, person. Get out of my way. Maelstrom Weapon. Your auto attacks and Wind Fury attacks generate 5 Maelstrom. Just a Maelstrom generator. Which is, if you don't know what Maelstrom is, it's our resource, by the way. Reincarnation. You should know what this is. It's a self-res. Everyone knows shamans can self-res. Pretty self-explanatory. Stormbringer. Your weapon attacks have a 6.4% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike and cause your next Storm Strike to cost 50% less Maelstrom and trigger no cooldown. This is very good. I find this procs a shit ton in PvP for some reason. And yeah, it's very good. Storm Lash, you don't really have to worry about that, it's just extra damage. It's definitely weird. Because Blizzard, I didn't even know what it was until I looked at my spellbook. And I was like level 100 and I didn't even know that I had that, so... Fun fact. Each of your main hand attacks, this is Wind Fury by the way, have a 21% chance to trigger 2 extra additional attacks, dealing 61,000 physical damage. And this is buffed by your Doomwind's artifact ability, which is this. Basically makes it so this hits for 180,000 instead of 61,000, which is very good. Would recommend it. And let's move on to the talents. Wind Song, I just got Whisper. I would open it. Kind of recording. 10-yard range, requires a melee weapon, lashes your enemy for 381,000 nature damage, and enhances your weapons with wind, increasing your attack speed by 30%. You can use this. I don't think I've used it all that much. I really like Hot Hand. Hot Hand is usually my go-to talent. Melee attacks with Flame Tongue weapon. Flame Tongue active have a chance to make your next Lava Lash cost 0 Maelstrom. Sounds good already. And deal 100% increased damage. Sounds good already. And this synergizes very well with this, which is that your Flame Tongue damage it causes the target to take 2% increased damage from your next Lava Lash. This effect stacks infinitely, so the more melee auto attacks you get off, the harder your Lava Lash will hit. Hypothetically, if you just hit someone super hard and they don't range you, if you build up all these stacks, you get a hot hand proc, you could hit up to that 4 million if you have a shit ton of stacks on them. So that's why I use that. I don't really think I need to go over any of these because most of them are just not that important. Landslide, Rockbiter increases your weapon, increasing your agility by 8% for 10 seconds. So this is just a flat agility buff. It used to be in the bottom row, now it's in the top row. I don't think I've ever taken it since it got moved to the top row. And I always just take Hot Hand because I like more buttons to press. Rainfall is like healing rain for Enhancement Shaman, except it increases the duration whenever you Storm Strike or Lava Lash. It's hard to stand in it in PvP, so that's why I never take it. But if you, let's say, are in a flag room, put it on the flag carrier, try to stand in it, try to get your team to stand in it. It'll just be a passive heal that will heal people, really. Feral Lunge, already talked about this. It's our gap closer. I like taking this because it gives us 2 gap closers instead of just 1. Windrush Totem. Summons a totem at the target location for 15 seconds, continually granting all allies who pass through it within 10 yards 60% increased movement speed for 5 seconds. It's a movement speed buff. Pretty much that's all I have to talk about for that one. Lightning Surge Totem, already talked about this. Earth Grab Totem, summons a totem which roots people for 50%, roots people for 8 seconds, and then if they're immune to it, just slows them. Voodoo Totem, I don't think I've ever taken this. It does have a weird animation, I'll say that much. If I believe so, it has like a little circle animation. Yeah, so it's pretty easy to tell when someone uses it, and it's pretty hard to like get someone to run into it when there's clearly just a giant circle that it's like, don't go in here because you'll turn into a fucking frog. Lightning Shield, I think I've used it once. I don't think it's that great. I think it's probably the least viable out of these. Level 60, bro. Ancestral Swiftness increases your haste by 6%. I've always taken this. Just a flat haste buff. Haste is pretty strong for Enhancement Shaman, so even in Battlegrounds PvE, this is my go-to. Hailstorm. Frostbrand now also enhances your weapon's damage, causing each of your weapon attacks to also deal 18,000 frost damage. This is good if you want to keep up another buff on your weapon. I don't like that, so that's why I use Fury of Air for the slow. Tempest. Stormbringer increases the critical strike chance of your next Storm Strike by 40%. This is good if you, I don't know, want to crit stuff, I guess. Stormbringer obviously is the giant buff that goes around your Storm Strike whenever it gets reset. Reduces the cost of it, and it will increase the critical strike. Overcharge is my go-to. Lightning Bolt now consumes up to 40 Maelstrom for up to 1,500% increased damage, but it has a 10.4 second cooldown. I think this is good. I know most people take Tempest. I think Overcharge is better. The reason being is with the Boulder Fist talent, you generate a lot of Maelstrom, and if you are maximizing your Maelstrom generation, you can usually get a Lightning Bolt off every now and then, and it's just, it hits up anywhere from 400,000 at the least to 1.5 million at the max. Powered Stormlash, don't ever take this. I've heard it's just garbage. I don't think I've ever taken it, wouldn't suggest it. Crashing Storm. Crash Lightning also electrifies the ground, leaving an electrified field behind it, which damages enemies within it for 71,000 nature damage over 6 seconds. So notice it says 71,000 damage over 6 seconds, which means it hits for about 10,000 each enemy over every second for 6 seconds. That's why I don't take it. It feels like it doesn't hit that hard. Literally next to it is one that hits for 30,000 every second, and that times 6 is 180,000. So you have a choice between something that slows people, costs Maelstrom, and is channeled. You don't have to press. Slows people, does 3 times the amount of damage. It's pretty clear which one you want to take here. You can also take Sundering, which is just extra burst. I prefer the slow from Fury of Air, because otherwise, if you don't take Fury of Air, you take Sundering, you're going to have to take Hailstorm, or you're just going to have to take something that you will have a constant slow on, because I don't use Frostbrand ever, because the Fury of Air slow is what I find is the only thing I need most of the time when it comes to trying to stick on a target. And if they do get away, you can just use your Earthbind Totem, because its range is ridiculous and it slows decent amount. Ascendance. This is like the big row. This is the only row where you kind of have to decide what you want to take for certain situations. Transform into an Air Ascendant for 15 seconds, reducing the cooldown and the cost of Storm Strike, which is your main ability, as I said, by 80%. And transforming your auto attacks and Storm Strike into wind attacks, which bypass armor and have a 30-yard range. This will be good against a armor-heavy team. Also good for arenas. Very good burst. Yeah, take it for arenas. Take it against plate wearers. You can really play around with the bottom row talent, is all I'm saying. But I've found that I like Boulder Fist the most, which I'll explain it here. Rock Batter's recharge time is reduced by 15%, and it deals 20% increased damage. So I'm going to spec out of this, see what it... So 5-second recharge, 250,000 nature damage, generates 28 Maelstrom. Spec into it, 4-second recharge, 314,000 nature damage. You're going to be able to generate more Maelstrom, and this is probably the key to this build, I'd say. Or at least Overcharge. If you don't take Overcharge and you take Tempest, I would suggest taking Earthen Spike or Ascendance. But with this build, with Overcharge, I would suggest Boulder Fist, because you're going to need the Maelstrom, especially with Fury of Air. If you don't take Boulder Fist and you try this build, you'll probably run out of Maelstrom. I usually almost never go out of Boulder Fist, so... Wouldn't really know, but I'd suggest Boulder Fist if you're running the same build I am. Earthen Spike. Summons an Earthen Spike under the enemy, dealing 645,000 physical damage, increasing your physical and nature damage you deal to the target by 30% for 10 seconds. This is good. I haven't used it. I need to use it more. I need to practice with it. Again, the only reason I don't take it is because I like Boulder Fist so much, but this is good if you really want to burst someone. I feel like this is the more flexible burst outside of Ascendance that you can, say, get Berserking, pop your burst macro, pop this, do your Rock Biter, Stormbringer, Lava Lash, Unleash Lightning proc. You'll do with a shit ton of damage. That's all I'm saying. Okay, Honor Talents. Gladiator's Medallion, your go-to. If you're an orc, you can't take Relentless. I've heard people take Relentless as an orc because it reduces the duration of stuns on you by like 40% or something. And the second row talent, Reinforced Armor or Sparring. Sparring if you're going against a melee heavy team. Reinforced Armor if you just want the flat health. I like taking Counter Strike Totem at all times, I'd say. Basically just reflects damage back at people. So if you use this one, a mage pops Glacial Spike, or anyone pops Burst and they don't kill it, it'll do a shit ton of damage back to the person. You can usually turn a fight with this. The fourth row, these are pretty interchangeable. Purifying Waters, you look for 33% of your total health whenever you purge something. This is good against a Restar Druid, Holy Paladin, anyone where you're finding yourself purging a lot. I like using Spectral Recovery. While in Ghost Wolf, you heal for 3% of your health every 2 seconds, increases the movement speed of Ghost Wolf by an additional 10%. That's why I like using it. Self-heal, increased movement speed. Ethereal Form, don't use this against casters. I've made this mistake. You turn Ethereal, making you immune to all physical damage. Physical damage. But unable to attack or cast spells, and your movement speed is reduced by 15%, lasts 15 seconds. Use this against melees. Use this in 2s against a Havoc Demon Hunter, Arms Warrior, Ret Paladin, Frost EK. Anything like that, you're good. Anything that's a caster, you're gonna get cooked. Forked Lightning. I find that this is the best for Battlegrounds. I've tried this row of talents. I've changed them a lot. I find the Forked Lightning is the best, especially if there's no one in range of the target. It just adds, what, 270,000 nature damage to the person, especially in 2s. So basically whenever you Storm Strike, you do extra damage. That's what it says, what it tells you. Does hit the furthest enemies within 40 yards though, but if there is no one within 40 yards, it'll just hit the closest enemy or the one enemy that's near you. So in 1v1s, this is very good. Also very good cleave damage. Static Clean. After you use Storm Strike twice in a row on an enemy, you create a coil of lightning binding you to the target, increases the damage the target receives from your attacks by 15%, increases your movement speed by 15%, but if the target moves away more than 15 yards, it'll break and you'll have to reapply it. I tried this. It's a good damage buff. It's 15% increased damage. That plus the nature spike taunt or earthen spike plus berserking. That's like a 60% damage increase in PvP, I'm pretty sure. So if you're going for montage clips or anything like that, I would suggest this. Other than that, I like Fork Lightning. Ride the Lightning. That's a weird name. I was gonna make a sex joke, but these are pretty cringe sometimes. When you use Storm Strike, you also cast a Chain Lightning on the target. Hurls a lightning bolt to the enemy, dealing 138,000 nature damage, and then jumping to an additional target. Affects 3 total targets. Again, extra nature damage whenever you Storm Strike. If you find that you're doing RPGs and they're melee heavy team, I'd suggest this. I personally think if you're just going for extra damage, Forked Lightning or Ride the Lightning would be the talents of choice. Again, static cling for montages. You want big burst, big numbers, anything like that, I'd suggest that. Other than that, I haven't even touched these two right here. Shamanism, one of the most OP things Warrior's ever done. I think it's somewhat silly at some points, but listen to this. Your Bloodlust spell now has a 60-second cooldown. Sounds good. But only affects you and your friendly target when cast for 10 seconds. Sounds still good. In addition, Bloodlust is no longer affected by Sated. So in other words, your Bloodlust now has a 1-minute cooldown, 50-second downtime if you're counting the 10 seconds that it's up after you pop your cooldowns, and affects you and another person instead of the whole raid though. In twos, this is really, really good. In rated battlegrounds, this is really, really good for your burst. In normal battlegrounds, this is really, really good because it increases your haste by, I believe, 30%. 30% haste increase plus a 6% flat haste increase from Ancestral Swiftness is a 36% increase haste. That plus the stat template in PvP, which I don't know what it is. I'll use my stat right now. If I pop my cooldowns, I'm going to have a 50% haste increase every 1 minute for 10 seconds. Sounds pretty broken. It is. And, yep, that is the talents. So, if you have any questions about talents, feel free to let me know. I'm going to show you guys my burst macro here. Okay, this is all you have to do for a macro, really. Slash cast Doom Winds, which is your artifact weapon, which is increases your Maelstrom damage and by 200%. Slash cast Feral Spirits, this is your Ghost Wolves. Ghost Wolves do a lot of damage. Slash cast Bloodlust, obviously it's Bloodlust. And slash cast Descendants if you have it. Slash cast Blood Fury. It's a one-shot macro, really. Now I'm going to show you guys the rotation. The best way I'd describe the Enhancement Shaman rotation is a list of priorities. If I had good editing skills, I'd literally just like list them on the side. But basically, keep up Flaying Tongue at all time. Reason being, if you take Hot Hand, it's going to reset the cooldown. Not reset the cooldown. It's going to make your Lava Lash hit like a truck. It's also going to be free. It's also going to be one more button to press for free. Would suggest it. Flame Tongue doesn't cost any Maelstrom. It's completely free to keep up. It also has a 10-yard range. Does have a cooldown. If you don't have any other button to press, I'd press this too. So that's the first priority. Second priority is Rockbiter. You're going to want to press this as much as you can to generate Maelstrom because you are running a Maelstrom generating build if you're running the same build I am right now. Basically press this whenever it's up because Fury of Air costs Maelstrom, Lightning Bolt costs Maelstrom, Storm Strike costs Maelstrom. The only thing that doesn't cost Maelstrom most of the time is when you have a Hot Hand proc with Lava Lash. So, second priority is Rockbiter. Third priority is Storm Strike. Storm Strike, especially with Stormbringer. If you see, I'm just going to show you guys an example here soon. Do you see they are getting a lot of Storm Strike procs with Stormbringer? Usually, you want to cast Storm Strike whenever you get a Stormbringer proc. Outside of that, you're going to want to use Lava Lash as a fourth priority with a Hot Hand proc. If your Lava Lash has a Hot Hand proc, I would use it. I think, honestly, Hot Hand Lava Lash proc and non-Stormbringer Storm Strike proc probably fall under the same priority. It's up to you, really. It matters also how many Flame Tongue stacks you have. Say you have like 30 stacks on someone, you're obviously going to want to use Hot Hand because it's going to hit a lot harder. And, yeah. And Fury of Air, also by the way, you just want to keep up all the time. It doesn't cost much Maelstrom. Usually, you can just Flame Tongue, Rockbiter, keep this up. Flame Tongue, Rockbiter, Fury of Air. You're going to be able to keep it up the whole time. That's what she said. Anyway, Lightning Bolt. With Overcharge, this is your last priority ability, I'd say. Because it is a button that you press when you have a lot of Maelstrom and you have no other buttons to press, which I find is a very rare occurrence, especially with this build. And then below that is Crash Lightning. Obviously, there's 2 people on you. You're going to want to use this. If there's 2 people on you, 2 or more actually, you're going to want to use this just for the flat damage increase, or the flat nature damage that you're going to get added on to your Storm Strike and Lava Lash. Going to want to keep that buff up as much as you can, and pretty self-explanatory. Let me show you guys the rotation. Take this with a grain of salt, because I might fuck it up. You can really press whatever buttons you want with this build and you'll still do damage, but if you try to follow the priority list I just listed, you're going to do more damage, I'd say. So I'm going to show you the normal damage, normal rotation, then I'm going to show you the burst rotation. Burst rotation is basically just smashing your face against your keyboard and pressing Storm Strike and Lava Lash and Rockbiter and Lightning Bolt as much as you can. That's about it. So here's the normal rotation. Going to go on this guy. Flame Tongue, keep that buff up. Get your Rockbiter off. Keep your Fury of Air up. Keep your Rockbiter. Press it whenever it's off cooldown. If I have nothing else to press, I do like to press Lava Bolt. Keep your Flame Tongue up. I have nothing to press here. Keep on Rockbiter. Oh man, I love missing. I like how nothing's proccing, but whenever Storm Strike is up, you're going to want to use that. Use Rockbiter whenever it's up. If you have nothing else to press, I would suggest pressing Flame Tongue Totem. I'll see here I get a few Stormbringer procs. It's like 3 Storm Strikes in a row. Use Lightning Bolt since I had nothing else to press. Gonna press Rockbiter, generate that. Maelstrom, gonna press it again. Full Maelstrom, gonna Stormbringer, Storm Strike, Rockbiter, Flame Tongue, Lightning Bolt, Rockbiter. Have nothing else to press. Gonna wait for Rockbiter to come back up. Wow, I'm really not getting any procs. Okay, Rockbiter, full Maelstrom, Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Rockbiter again. Lightning Bolt. If you think you're going to cap out on Maelstrom, I would suggest just using Lava Lash. But if most of the time you won't cap out. But right there I did, so who do I know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that's the normal rotation. Basically, I like having my abilities in order of what I want to press them as. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, Flame Tongue should be applied at all times, so it should be on 1, but I just like it on 4 because I find that I'm pressing Rockbiter the most, Storm Strike the 2nd most, Lava Lash the 3rd most, Flame Tongue the 4th most, Lightning Bolt the 5th most, Fury of Air 6th most, I guess. I don't know. I could switch this with Crash Lightning because I probably used Crash Lightning more, but okay, hello person. I have to decline that. So, let me talk about the burst. Burst macros, I said, your Doom Winds, Bloodlust, Feral Spirits, Irracial. When you use this, you're going to generate a dick ton of Maelstrom. Like, you're going to be capped out on Maelstrom all the time. If you find yourself capped out on Maelstrom, or capping out, use Lava Lash. It's a Maelstrom dump. Does damage. Pretty self-explanatory. And I will show you guys the burst rotation, and then I'm going to end the video, because someone wanted me to make this guide, and yeah, people were saying I was melting people. I did like 200 million damage in Strand of the Ancients last night. Obviously not rated, but those are my only bragging rights, really. So here's the burst rotation. Gonna get some of my Maelstrom up. Usually I like to pop my burst whenever have a Stormbringer proc, so I'm gonna wait for that. I'm just gonna use my burst anyway. So here's my burst. Basically, gonna want to Storm Strike and Lava Lash a lot, and use Rockbiter. And obviously you're gonna want to keep Flame Tongue up in this time too. You're gonna want to keep your Rockbiter, Maelstrom generation up, Lava Bolt, and you have nothing else to press. Lightning Bolt. Lava Lash, and you have nothing to press. Keep your Flame Tongue up. Storm Strike whenever you get a Stormbringer proc. keep your rock bladder flow rotation going, lava lash when you're almost capped out or have nothing else to press. There you go. It's your burst right there. And obviously, if you can catch someone in a lightning surge totem stun, that would be a great opportunity for you to do more damage, really. Gonna spec back into that. So, yeah, that is my crash course for Enhancement Shaman PvP. If you guys like it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, feel free to send people a shitty guide, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Whoever requested this, here you go. Here's an Enhancement Shaman guide. It's one of the best melee classes, I'd say, right now. Its single target pressure is amazing. If you run this build, I can guarantee you'll have a blast. It's a lot of mixed damage. Nature damage, fire damage. Nature, fire. Is that all? Yeah, about it. Air damage, too. But, yeah. Good heals, good self-sustain, good everything, really. I don't think there's one thing about Enhancement Shaman that I don't like right now, and I feel like it's one of the classes that Blizzard did do the best on in Legion. So, for once in my life, good job, Blizzard. And I actually mean it this time. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends. Leave any comments. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments. I'll try to reply to those. If you guys want to request a certain class guide, feel free to leave that in the comment also. Feel free to request any class you guys want to see in PvP too. I'll do that. And yeah, as always, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.